Let's go. Let's go, man. Hunt the ball. Let's go, family on 3. 1, 2, 3, family.
Hello, football family. Welcome into Huddle It Up Films, continuing the discussion of the roster positions, breaking them down, picking out 4 edge rushers today to talk about. 2 of them roster locks, the other 2 kind of long shot to make it. So we're going to mix it up a little bit here. And for the first time, I have Marshall on the program, Mr. Yuri himself. Now, Marshall, I will tell you that up until this point, I'd always thought that's Yuri. That's Yuri. So where does the Yuri come from? And tell us about your Twitter @ down there.
Ooh. The Yuri is from someone. This is going to connect to the younger audience if they're listening. I used to play Xbox with way back in the day, and his name was Mr. Yuri. Me and him would always chop it up, and for some reason I just kept the legend living on. I think that's kind of how it came about. But the name I was given at birth was Marshall.
So the reason everybody's tuning in today, Marshall, the edge rushers we're talking about, I think it's a position on the Ravens that is not the strongest. I look at edge rusher, I look at wide receiver. Those are the 2 positions that I feel like we could add someone. And of course, Justin Houston, Ravens use this unique tag on him where he will be back with the Ravens if he doesn't sign with another team by a certain date. So Justin Houston may be coming back. But overall, Marshall, I just wanted to ask you, first of all, your level of confidence in the position. And do you see it as me as like one of the positions that brings you a little bit of anxiety when it comes to depth?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat with you. Do I call you Jason, right? You would call Huddle Films. Jason?
Hey,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat with you. It's like one of those groups where, okay, if everybody's healthy, you're feeling good about it. But it's a large if because Hayes has been injured in the past. Ojabo, you just don't know. He could come back in October, November. He could be ready at the start of the season. You got Owe who tweaked something last year, but they said he's going to be fine. So yeah, I'm in the same boat. I'm not as crazy confident. I think if they bring back Justin Houston, or if they bring in a JPP if Houston gets poached, I'm feeling a little bit better about it. But yeah, I would say I'm in the same boat. I think it's thin, but we just don't realize how thin it is until week 1, I think.
There you go. So the first guy I want to talk about is the 2nd-round pick, David Ojabo. Excellent player. Would have went in the 1st round. Tore his Achilles. I believe it was right around St. Patty's Day. That's how I'm remembering it. So right around the middle of March. Time frame for return unknown. These things vary between athletes, and Achilles, we saw Cam Akers come back in 5-6 months, whatever it was last year. So I think you outlined it pretty perfectly. It could be October, maybe a long shot at the start of the season, although he's probably not going to be 100% until much later. But he's a player that I really like. Marshall, I know you covered the draft. What were your initial impressions about Ojabo?
So I'll be honest. I wasn't during the draft process. I wasn't super crazy on him because I thought that he was more of a 3rd down specialist to start. I didn't think that's what we needed right then. But now looking at it, when you add in someone like Justin Houston and you don't really need Ojabo to start all 3 downs, that's where I think you allow him to thrive. Plus, you add in Travis Jones to clog up the middle and kind of maybe get Ojabo more one-on-one situations. But to speak to his skill standpoint, I think he is by far one of the highest upside edge rushers in this past class. He was almost like forget who said it, but it was almost like a human pass rushing experiment where he didn't really have the greatest plan, but he just yet let his athleticism and the way he attacked the tackle to let him win a lot. I think that's something that super excites me about him. Once again, the health we'll see, but he came to the best situation with reuniting with Mike McDonald. I think that's going to be huge step. The year 1 transition for rookies is hard, but to get back with your old DC, I think that's big.
So a lot of things there to unpack, but I want to first of all agree with you as far as the his role this year, I see it as a sub rusher, a third down specialist, and I'm fine with that. I think that we are going to have more mature football players, the as far as physically mature, more experienced football players on this team that can set the edge, be good against the run, be pretty good against the pass. But what I want to see from David Ojabo later in this year, I expect him to play this year. I expect him to work his way close to 100% health-wise with his Achilles this year. And I want to see him come in maybe a series at a time, depending on the team, or, maybe not play as much early in the game, but come late in the game when the Ravens have a 10-point lead and it's the fourth quarter and the other team has to throw or score quickly, to let Ojabo loose and just let him bend that edge. And one of the things that excites me about Ojabo is I think he slipped because of his lack of experience and, of course, the injury. But with the lack of experience, that just, like you said, it points to his upside. And I think the want-to is there when it comes to being a physical run setter. He's just not physically mature yet. He's still kind of wiry and that kind of thing. That strength will come by year 2. I would say year 3, he'll be plenty strong enough. But Marshall, the want-to, when it comes to edge setting, you have to want to.
Absolutely, yeah. That's something that definitely you can see in his game where obviously the physical and functional strength isn't there, but he is wanting to try and set the edge. He does put himself in situations to try and get out there. There's a few times where he does successfully set the edge. It's not on a consistent basis where you can expect it in year 1. But I think I agree with you. Year 2, I think it shouldn't. I think he'll be good. And man, it's a pretty. The fact that we got him, and looking on obviously next year and the year after, he just projects very, very well if he can come along physically.
He had kind of a quick rise. He just started playing football not so long ago, so he's new to the game. But yes, setting the edge is all about leverage and eyes and want to. But we saw with Adafio Way last year when you tried to cheat the edge and bounce it all the way around, he was gonna chase you down, man. You weren't getting any yards. And Ojabo, his combine numbers kind of surprised me, Marshall. Like, I thought he would run a little faster. I mean, he was still in the 4.5s, which is fast for a defensive end. But on tape, man, he looks just so super quick. I'm tape first and foremost and double check with those numbers. He looks a lot quicker than even his draft profile would indicate. He plays longer than his draft profile. It would indicate. I see a 3-down player, but let's concentrate on 2022 for a second. Do you agree with my assessment? Year 1, sub rusher, playing more as the game progresses, playing in obvious passing downs when he's able to play, and just give the Ravens a little extra juice in that pass rush. I mean, if he came in as a sub rusher down the stretch, ended up with, I don't know, it could only be 3 or 4 or 5 sacks, but maybe affect some games, maybe help put a game away for the Ravens.
Absolutely. I may be in my own boat here, but I prefer just to wait till the middle of November and let him get healthy, in my opinion. But 1,000% third down sub rusher. I wouldn't enforce him on early downs unless we're up 20 or something and it's like 2nd and 20. But yeah, I just get him healthy, man. Just get him healthy for those late games in December and hopefully games for January, because I think that's where he'll be the most important.
And the last thing I wanted to comment on is your what you said about Mike McDonald and bringing him here. I do think it's a benefit. Now, is it a benefit from a schematic standpoint? I don't know. And then, quite honestly, if he's just going to play the edge and get after the passer, he doesn't need to be a master of the playbook right away or this ultra experienced football player. Just go beat the left tackle, the right tackle, get after the passer, if that's the way he's going to be used. But what I do think having Mike McDonald, what it gives me comfort in with Ojabo is that McDonald got the most out of Ojabo. He was able to put him on a big-time stage, play big-time games with little experience, and really dominate as part of that front four. And you saw in the post-draft when they had the call, during the draft, when McDonald and Ojabo talked, it was an obvious connection, Marshall. Like, a lot of stuff that comes out, especially this time of year, is fluff, and everybody looks great, and everybody's knows the playbook, and their best shape of their life. You hear all the time, but you could tell when McDonald was on the phone with Ojabo, there was a connection. Ojabo was really happy to come back to Mike McDonald.
Absolutely, yeah. That's it's. I don't want to say it's an unwritten rule, but it's just something you can't really quantify into material. It's just something, a relationship you have between somebody, former, coach. You just can't put a number behind it. It's something that could be very special. And like you said, Mike McDonald got the most out of him, so I expect Mike McDonald to know how to use him.
Thought it was pretty cool too that Ojabo showed that kind of affection for the coach, which, like, for me, looking at this defense long term, Mike McDonald, I got a good feeling about him. I don't know what it is. I just have a good feeling about him. I'm ready for a different style of defense, even though a lot of it'll be the same. I like the way McDonald handled that Michigan team and how he used his resources to their best abilities. So the second guy I want to talk about, Marshall, is a guy that not many fans know about. But as far as like notes are concerned, I have more notes on this guy than probably any other player, and that's Jeremiah Moon, coming from Florida. Just like, there's a lot of moving parts with his evaluation. I think that he, is a long shot to make the team. But as far as like when you look at some of these undrafted free agents, the ceiling for him, I think, is really high. He's just got some obvious physical stuff going on. The shortcomings. I'm just going to mention this before I kick it to you. He was hurt throughout college. I want to say 3 times.
Yeah.
I actually read a report where he had to wear leg braces. I'm guessing when he was a kid, because he was, pitch-and-toed and bow-legged. Yep. It caused a fracture in his back. Like, he's had all these physical things to overcome, but yet on tape, when you watch him get after the passer and work, it's something special. And he's been moved from inside linebacker to edge rusher, so he hasn't really had a position to concentrate on. So, Marshall, a lot there for you to take away. Tell me what you got on Jeremiah Moon from Florida.
So, I won't lie. I don't usually get super deep into the draft. I'll probably do 100 prospects, and then that's kind of where I cap my evaluations at. But I will say, from watching Jeremiah Moon, like you said, it's a very interesting evaluation, because, like you said, was a linebacker, played edge. Florida played him at both spots. Like you said, the ceiling is super high because he's a very, very, very good athlete, 6'4", 250 pounds. Relative athletic score.
He's really long too, man. He's got
35 inch. Yeah.
35-inch arms, and he uses them really well. And then the pass move is that spin, that quick spin move that he's got. And also, I like his hustle. I thought that he uses the arm length to disengage when the play is away from him. So if he's on the right side and you're running left, and obviously the tackle is going to have a huge advantage on you and be able to wall you off, he's able to not get stuck to a block like that. Disengage with those long arms and go get the ball carrier. Like, I like his hustle, and I think that may be a product of everything that he's had to overcome to be in this position, to be in an NFL camp.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing I wanted to note physically was he had a 40.5-inch vertical, so he is a very, very explosive athlete. In terms of day one projection, I would say, like, he's got a knack for special teams, in my opinion. I could see him being a contributor there early, and then that gets him on the roster. He's a high character guy. Like you said, he hustles. I think those are all things that tick the box for John Harbaugh, in my opinion. And I could see him making the roster. And then he's just, the frame is there, the athleticism is there. Like you said, the spin move. I was actually watching. He beat Evan Neal inside on a spin move twice against Alabama in 2021, but he got tripped up the second time. But yeah, he's got the tools. I just think he needs a little more coaching to be more consistent with them. But yeah, he's, like you said, the ceiling is just it's pretty exciting. But you also have to consider that he got injured 3 times in college. So.
Yes, and one thing, if fans want to go back and do their own scouting, if you watch him in 2021, he played a lot of inside linebacker. He wasn't really an edge rusher full time. If if you go back and watch his previous tape, he switched to edge in 2019. So 2019, 2020, you see a lot of him on the edge. And Evan Neal, as you mentioned, one of the top picks in this draft, a very crafty tackle. So, you beating someone like him, it shows you what he can do. It doesn't mean he's going to do it consistently, but you see the flashes from Moon. But yeah, it's kind of funny with that 40-inch vertical. I mean, that's incredible for a guy that's 6'5". You add that 40-inch vertical. I mean, he's just a very long player. Yeah, I thought that he has, I expected him to be 24, 25 because he actually started playing college ball way back in 2016. He's still 23, so there's still some upside for him. But more part I'll disagree with you on was Marshall is I don't see him making this team unless we're in a position like we were last year with the injuries. Like I don't want to jinx it. I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't even want to say it. But I'm hoping. I just wanted to say before I kick it to you, I'm hoping that he sticks around on the practice squad to start this season. And when you mention special teams, he's got some gunner potential, bro. Like he's long and strong enough to where he could play some gunner for this team if he was on the 53 to get himself active on game days.
Yeah, that was my only that was the reason why I thought he had a chance to make it, because I think that there's a lot of potential there with the special teams part. I wouldn't put money on it, but he is our highest paid what do you call it? Priority free agent.
UDFA, right? They wanted him. That's why I'm hoping that he sticks on the practice squad. Like if we don't have room for him and we can't play a roster game to manipulate him, maybe put him on one of them phantom IRs or something, there's a chance the Ravens could lose this guy. I mean, that should say something to why Marshall and I are talking up this guy and his upside. It shows in how valued he was. Money talks, bro. Ravens had to pay up for this guy.
Absolutely, yeah. That combining that with his special teams knack, his hustle, his character, which is talked up a lot. He also is a very secure tackler. Is something else I noticed. And I watched him. He shot through a hole against Alabama, just smashed up the play. So I don't know. It's hard to expect a UDFA to make the roster, but the way we're looking right now at edge, and even line, I mean, I'm not super confident on his linebacker ability personally. I feel like a lot of times he just looked a little lost out there, and I don't know if they asked him. It seemed like he got asked more to spy than to actually play coverage. So, yeah. But
yes, I have no feel for him in coverage, and I'm not even looking at him as an off-ball linebacker. I think he ran in the 4.7s. I don't believe in his long speed at all as far as a run and chase player, because I mean at 4.7 you have to have outstanding instincts. Like Josh Bynes plays super fast, and he's probably a 4.7, 4.8 guy. But yeah, with Jeremiah Moon with that kind of length, I think you'd be wasting him at off ball. Let that man get into some big left tackles and just ask him to go get the passer, get in some passing lanes. With that length, I think could really pay off. So I like the move by the Ravens, to take a shot with Jeremiah Moon. Any final thoughts on him before we move
on? Let's see my notes, because I did write
digging in the notes. I love it. Digging in the notes.
Wrote way too many.
I had a ton of notes on him, Marshall. I really did.
Yeah. There's a lot to write, man. It's just he's just an interesting he's just an interesting player, because there's just you look at the guy who went number 1 overall. Tall, long arm, athletic. And I know I'm not putting him in the same realm or anything, but I'm just saying, like, he's tall, he's got pretty long arms, and he's athletic. So, I guess the last thing I say to him, he does have very good closing bursts. That's something else I noticed. I think he closes very well, and something you hit on. He loves throwing his arm up in the passing lane. I've seen him so many times just throw him arm out there, and I love that personally.
So I think this is going to be a player that Ravens fans are going to say, who is this guy when it comes preseason week 1, week 2, if he's able to stay healthy. I wish him the best. I think that without his injury history, because it's not just one injury that happened, it's just constant. And then we talked about what happened with him growing up and all that. Like that scares that'll scare a team away from investing a 4-year rookie contract. So
Hmm.
I'm really rooting for him because I think he can be a good NFL player. I really do. Maybe not a superstar. Maybe that's, there's only few superstars in this game, but a good NFL contributor. So Marshall, Daelin Hayes. Now, I talked about my fondness for Broderick Washington. It's not a love. It's not anything like this. It's not saying he's a Pro Bowler, but I feel the same way about Daelin Hayes as I do Broderick for the same reasons. There is a steadiness, a comfort level that I get when I watch Daelin Hayes, and then even watching him last year getting some preseason action, and he only had 5-6 snaps or something in the regular season. But I'm confident in what he can bring to the table. He's not bringing a ton to the table, but I'm confident in what he does bring to the table. Is he brings you a coverage ability. Tyus Bowser is probably the best in the NFL. I don't study other teams as hard as I study the Ravens, but I'm taking Bowser in coverage. He can match up one-on-one on a tight end if you ask him to. Hayes is in the same mold. It's scarily the same kind of skill set that we're talking about. You talk about edge setting, coverage, and then a bull rush and some crafty. That's pretty much Tyus Bowser. You know what I
Right.
mean? So I see a clone there. I see a plan there. If Bowser is unable to go or be at full speed at the start of the season, Daelin Hayes, I think, is going to pick up a lot of that slack and surprise people because he is a steady player.
Absolutely. Yeah. I won't lie. When they took Daelin Hayes last year, 2020, right? Yeah, 20 was it last year. Last year. I'm mixing up the drafts. When they took him last year, I kind of thought that Hayes was maybe, just maybe, a future Tyus Bowser replacement. He's just like you said. He's very, very similar. He has a special knack for coverage. His edge rushing is just it's it's scary on how good it could be because I honestly think he's a 5 sack a year guy, kind of like Tyus, like a 5 sack to start off early, and then once he gets full-time reps, maybe he's more if that happens. But yeah, he's super intriguing. I like you said, you hit on the head. The coverage ability is so promising from an edge, having an edge linebacker that can drop into coverage and, clear out a flat. There's a running back leaking out. They can go out there and they can, recognize. It's exciting. I won't lie. But obviously the injuries are just another thing you got to keep an eye on.
So I want to drill you down a little bit here on the what I said, which is like a guy like Jeremiah Moon is the opposite. Okay, we don't know what he can bring. His upside though is super high, that kind of thing. In Daelin Hayes, I see like qualities that I'm scouting that I can comfortably translate to the NFL. He's going to be able to cover in the NFL. He's going to be able to generate some kind of bull rush. Like I said, there's some craftiness. Maybe I don't see the diversity in his moves, but he'll be an okay rusher, and he's going to set the edge strong. So I feel pretty comfortable that 2 out of the 3 main things you need to translate, coverage and run setting, is pretty good in his favor. Do you feel that same like comfort level in those skills?
Absolutely, yeah, 1,000%. I would I would say the same thing. I feel like edge setting and the coverage ability, 100%. I feel like it's bar none. It'll definitely translate in my opinion. As long as he stays healthy, I think we have a very good football player on our hands.
So as far as the rush, you sound like you're a little higher when you spoke than I am on the rush. We saw some clips last year, him doing like a little ghost move where he would like show his body and then his body would disappear when the offensive tackle went to go ahead and punch him, and then he kind of dips around. And I mentioned the bull rush already 2 or 3 times, but I don't see I didn't see it in college either. So what was your feel for him? What makes you excited, or what makes his edge rushing a skill that you think that he could be a 5 sack, 6 sack a year guy?
I don't know. I was looking at the practice reps from last year when he was healthy in camp, and maybe it was just 1 or 2 reps and I was overlooking it, but I thought he had a little bit of flexion in his ankles and a little bit of bend. Maybe it's just me, but I thought I saw that in him, and that's kind of what really made me believe he could be a 5 or 6 sack guy.
I like it. See, you're speaking my language there. Ankle flexion and bend. See, the young man has some. All he already knows what he's looking at, fellas. This is why, Marshall. This is why I love bringing different people on the show. Just from different, you don't have to have any kind of special podcast or anything like that. I tell people that all the time. But if you have something to say about Ravens football, you can always get on Twitter. DM me. We'll even do. I'm thinking about doing some kind of fan show that I might ask you to come back and help me lead, Marshall, where we just hear from the Twitter people at a Ravens flock, and I think that would be good. Do it like a call-in show. So, but yes, good thoughts on Daelin Hayes. Now, there's one other edge player that I asked you to study in this group, and we both came away with the same thing. We just don't know, bro. And it's okay. I would rather somebody say to me, I don't have a good feel for this player than to just try to blow smoke. And I'm like that too. So we're in the same boat. Charles Wiley, listed as Chuck, by the way, now. So I guess we should call him Chuck Wiley. Outside linebacker. Not a lot of tape on him most recently. And he played for Texas San Antonio. So, of course, there's not like overflowing, tape of Texas San Antonio in Conference USA. So,
Right.
Marshall, what do you have on Mr. Chuck Wiley?
I got physicals. 8.73 relative athletic score. He's 6'2", 250 pounds. And a few things that I read. Obviously, I didn't see it on tape because finding Chuck Wiley tape is trying to find Iman Marshall at a practice field. So they said that he can play inside and outside, and that he has a lot of tools. That's what people said. But did I see that on tape? I don't know because I haven't. I even tried to go into Tariq Woolen tape, but it was only from 2020 and not from 2021. So I'm like, all right, well.
Okay, so I was able to get a little bit of Chuck Wiley film, but it wasn't it wasn't enough for me to have this, be able to go on a rant like I just did with Daelin Hayes. What I noticed, a shorter, stockier build, bro. He's not like he is short, but he plays short too. So that kind of works a disadvantage to him, especially if he's going to be an edge rusher. I mean, that's tough to overcome. But yes, he played for Ole Miss and then transferred out to play for a smaller school. So I'm guessing he wasn't going to get the playing time. And he's 24 years old, so he's even older than Moon. Stocky, a bully style, plenty of powers. He looks like a 4.5, 4.6 guy to me. I think his play speed is okay. But one thing that I will be able to say with confidence is that he plays with power. He will blow you up and he will knock you off the ball. If somebody's got ball carriers, got the ball in their hands, and they're running full speed, and Chuck Wiley's got 2 steps, Chuck Wiley's going to win most of the time, which is an impressive quality to have. But he's going to need much more than that to become more than a special teams player in the NFL.
Yeah, 1,000%. I mean, I'm only going off images, but he does look like a pretty built guy. So he definitely carries the 6'2", 250 pretty well. Like you said, we'll see if he can get himself a spot, but
it's going to be on special teams, Marshall. It's going to be on special teams. He's going to have to show up there, and he's a guy that I think will get a chance to play a ton, as much as he can handle in the preseason. And again, if you're recruited to Ole Miss, you're not a scrub, man. He was recruited to Ole Miss. He played at Ole Miss. He ended up at Texas San Antonio, but he has that SEC experience. So I'm sure that there are football skills to his game. I'm just not qualified to speak on him at this time.
Right.
So, it's a short segment on Charles Wiley. Wish I had more. I would just say keep an eye on him in the preseason games, or if we decide to practice in some form or fashion with Arizona while we're out there for that preseason game, just to watch him and try to get a feel for him. But he's a guy I'm not, concerned about losing. If his goal should be make the practice squad. That's what you want to look for. If he has a good offseason, he will be on the Ravens practice squad.
Absolutely. I do have a question though. Was it Jeremiah Moon that got an offer from Alabama, or was it Wiley? Because I read that last night and I can't remember which one it was.
I'm pretty sure that was Moon, but he decided to go to Florida. But yeah, Moon was up there when it came to recruit. Obviously, his height and you mentioned the 40. I think it was over 40-inch vert. I mean, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So yeah,
outstanding athlete. He really is.
So, Marshall, I'm going to bring us home. I'm going to ask you the same question that I'll have for my next guest talking about the other edge rushers. That is just your overall impression of the edge group. What do the Ravens need out of this group? How do they have to perform for the Ravens to, advance in the playoffs and be that Super Bowl contending team that many of us expect them to be?
There's been a lot of times where it seems like on third down in the playoffs, just couldn't really get off the field, and the pass rush just hasn't been too crazy. So we definitely need these guys to step up. Not particularly these four, but it would be nice for Daelin Hayes and David Ojabo to be in there in January, making plays for us, getting off the edge, getting us out of 3rd and 15. It's 3rd and 6. The team's about to throw the ball short. Them getting home quick because those guys are pretty fast. Hayes making plays in coverage. I think in order for the Ravens to advance in the playoffs, it's a very young group. Without Justin Houston, like the average age of the group is probably 23 or 24. So they gotta step up, and I think they have the talent to do it.
That's great. So, I agree with that. I mean, we have such a talented secondary, and like I said, I want to see how Mike McDonald uses his strengths, especially at the safety position at this point. And hopefully, if Marcus Peters back, we don't need the pass rush to be special. We don't need to be, masters of the pass rush, super efficient. We just need some consistency to not hang our corners out to dry for a big play and that kind of thing. Pressure the quarterback. And I think that this is also going to it translates to the defensive line. I feel much the same way when it comes to rushing the passer. Our run defense, I think, is going to be more than fine. I don't know if it's going to be number one again. Of course, that's hard to say, but I think it's going to be a good run defense. So for, overall with this edge group, this outside linebacker group, just try to disengage. Don't be as predictable. Put some pressure on the quarterback, even if you can't get home. Don't allow him to hold it. And David Ojabo, I think Daelin Hayes are going to be big parts of that this year.
Absolutely, I agree 100%. Although we don't need them to do special, I'd like it personally. I'd like for them to do special. I'd like for everything to be special in the playoffs. That's usually how you win a Super Bowl. But I'm in the same boat. I think we're in good hands. As long as the injury bug stays away, I think we are in very, very good hands.
There you go. I'm knocking on wood for that. And then with that, I'm going to say thank you to our football family. Love my football family. Thank you for the young buck Marshall for coming on, making his debut on Huddle It Up Films. All right, so you're getting into scouting a little bit. How grade yourself, man. Grade yourself here. How'd you do
today? I go with a solid B+. I think the trying to find out who Charles Wiley was my what kept me from the grade being an A.
No, see, now that actually bumped your grade, because if you would have came up to me and said, "Oh, I got all this Charles Wiley tape, I know it," then I would have been like, "Marshall, you're so full of what." I'm never having you on the no, I was just kidding, but yeah, no, being honest is really important. So some guys I have a good feel for, some guys I don't have as good a feel for, some guys I believe can go either way. So yeah, I love that quality, bro. You got to know yourself, man. You can't too many people want to claim to know everything. There's stuff out there you don't know, you're not supposed to know. Life advice there for you, Marshall.
Hey, usually when people say you're not supposed to know that, I go and dig in. So that's just the person I am.
That's the nerd in you, bro. You can't help it. If you're scouting, you're going to have some nerdy qualities. So yeah, being prepared and all that other stuff. So with that, Marshall, I just want to say thank you so much for joining me on the program. Look forward to interacting with you on Twitter. You see Marshall's Twitter handle below. That's 3 underscores. So Mr. __ Yuri on Twitter. His link will be below. And with that, Marshall, I want you to say goodbye to the people for me. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on, and I'll hopefully be on soon.